Hello and welcome to the Herdline Podcast, hosted by Trace Johnson and the Herds Headset. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode where the Headset and Trace talk all things Marshall athletics. Be sure to follow us on X and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Now, sit back, relax, and let's talk the herd.
Welcome back to the Herdline Podcast. We are ready for episode 8 of season 1. Going to be doing a different sport today that we haven't touched on yet, but we were both very much looking forward to this season coming up, having a lot of expectations this year. After a solid year last year, they're kind of a breakthrough year of sorts. It is time to talk baseball. Herd Baseball 2026. They have a lot of things going in their favor this year. You have sensed over the last couple of years that this program has really been trending in the right direction under Greg Beals. You can just feel it. The energy's starting to get back with the program. They're starting to get some big wins. Had their most wins last year in 9 years. The most they'd had since 2016. So they're really starting to get it going. And that's what we're going to touch on today. We're going to dive into a lot of baseball stuff, some stats from last year, some players that are coming back this year, some newcomers, looking at the schedule, which is a very, very challenging schedule that if we can, win a lot of those games and put us in position to possibly be an NCAA tournament team, that's been the whole goal. So there's a lot of things to touch on, and we'll go ahead and get into it. But before we get too deep into it, we're going to go ahead and ask you, man, how's it been going lately? I know you've been kind of under the weather and had a lot of stuff going on there and with all this crazy weather and ice and snow and stuff. So how's it been going lately?
Yeah, man, it's been interesting over here. Obviously, like you just said, I've been under the weather, and my wife as well is right now under the weather. We're gone through the snowmageddon that everybody's gone through just about. And yes, the stomach bug has hit our house. It was not a great experience. And but with that said, I'm feeling a little bit better today, getting back into the swing of things. And I'm glad to be able to be on the podcast. Gets me a little bit, it brings you a little bit of joy, I guess you could say, because the last couple of days have not been so much fun. But man, Marshall baseball. Hey, this is the greatest time to be a Marshall baseball fan in our entire school's existence. Like you just said a moment ago, we had things rolling pretty well last year. Made a first ever Sun Belt Conference appearance in the tournament there. So there's a lot to be excited about, and I cannot wait today to talk more about the baseball team, the program in general, and where we're heading in this next year. So let's get this thing rolling. Let's get started.
Take me out to the ball game. Am I right or am I right? Let's go. I mean, it's going to be a really fun year. It's going to be, the Jack's going to be lively. It's going to be packed a lot this year. It's going to be fun. And I figured the best place to start probably would be just touch on a little bit of last year, because like I said, it was a breakthrough year, and we had not had that type of a year in a number of years. I mean, since 2016, we had not had a season of that many wins. We had 34 wins in 2016. We had 33 last year. So those types of years do not happen that often, have not happened that often for Herd baseball. And, obviously we know all the challenges that they've had as a program, and now starting to see them finally break through and get to a point where they should have been decades ago, quite frankly. Their own facility, of course, not having to travel all over for home games, having just a lot better things in play to help the program succeed, and we're seeing the success already. Last year, they finished 33-26 overall, had a lot of big wins. We talked about that briefly on the end of the year the end of the year superlative episode, whichever one it was, the 2025. It was the top moments of the year. That's the episode we did in that. We talked a lot about baseball and how that Sun Belt tournament run that they went on and finally making it there was a huge deal. The Sun Belt's a really tough league. I mean, it's got some giants in it. I mean, and Marshall went toe-to-toe with most of those guys very well. I mean, Coastal Carolina is a different story. They were the national runner-up last year. It's not going to be easy to beat them at this point, because we haven't reached our full potential yet. We're just building towards it. Coastal's been built for years. Coastal that's just what they've been for a number of years. 2016 national champs. So it wasn't that long ago they won a national title. So, I mean, that's a tough team to overcome, but I think this year we're better equipped to challenge them. I truly believe that. Last year had some huge wins. Georgia Tech, WVU, Southern Miss, and the list goes on and on. Really high caliber teams that we were able to beat last year. Looking forward to more of that this year, quite frankly. So go ahead and talk a little bit about 2025 season and just what a big year that was for the program and what kind of success you think that could lead us to this year.
Well, I can just say it this way. I mean, what a year it was. Best year of Marshall baseball that I can ever remember. And that's not to say that Marshall maybe had some better records and better, overall, things take place in the past. But I don't remember it because I've never been as invested in baseball as I am right now. Ever since the beginning of the Jack becoming reality, whenever we, actually had a place for us to go and watch them play baseball, just overall, the excitement for Marshall baseball has been through the roof in the city of Huntington. And I just got to say it this way. I got to give hats off to Greg Beals because I'm telling you, he has just turned around this entire program. He's
Yep.
brought excitement. He has brought winning. He has brought an overall great culture, and I'll even say it this way too. He loves this place, and he goes out of his way to inform everybody that I love Marshall, that I love the city of Huntington, and we reciprocate that. We try our very best to show our love and appreciation to him as well. And so, last year was again a great season overall. I believe it was a season to where we kind of proved for the first time in many years that, hey, we are contenders. We're not
Yeah.
just a team that can win a game here or there, but we have the possibility to make a run in the tournaments, in the Sun Belt tournament, trying to get on our way to the World Series. And so I really, really like the position that we are in. We had a lot of great guys last year come in and did tremendous jobs. And the great news is this, that as you look on the roster, and we got a lot of those guys coming back, especially with the pitching. And we'll talk more about that in here in just a little bit. But like you said, big wins last season, beating West Virginia, great win overall. Southern Miss winning that series was huge. Southern Miss was
Huge.
ranked at the time, and so just little moments all throughout the season we saw just little glimmers of light, right? And and overall too, I think that we are a lot closer now than we ever have been to being that consistent contender year in and year out. Because let's just be honest with ourselves too. The Sun Belt is a very tough baseball conference.
Mm-hmm.
You have the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12, and then I would argue and tell you that it's the Sun Belt that is that fourth power conference in baseball today. I mean, that may be debatable. Some may say different, but overall, I think that top to bottom, the Sun Belt is very, very good. So we're in tough conference where we play tough teams all the time. This we're going to talk about the schedule a little bit. We got a very tough schedule, but it's also a very exciting one because of based on what was able to happen last season. We can make a lot of noise.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited for baseball. I'm looking forward to seeing how the season goes. And I think last year was a tremendous, just continue to build type of year. We saw the base a couple of years ago where we kind of got established, got a new stadium. Then last year we saw next step. I think this year we'll see another step in that right direction.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I mean, you coming off of a 33 win season, and now this year you return even more continuity from that team. A lot of guys back, a lot of new guys that are going to really add a lot to the team. I don't think 35, 37 wins, 38 wins is out of the question. And if they really go on a run and they extend their season 40 wins, wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's hard to predict that kind of thing because baseball is just there's just so many games and it's just so up in the air every single game. It's like you could be playing a quote unquote horrible team and they could beat you like 10-0. I mean, it just totally is very, it's hard to string together a lot of consistency. And especially with how Marshall's been as a program, just so much, turmoil. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but just so many things going against them for so many years. So it was really hard for them to string together consistency. But now I think that they got the right guy leading the program. They got the place to play that is exciting. They've got the talent level that's coming in that they haven't had in a while. You're going to start seeing a lot of good things from them. Last year was just the start. So I think this year they're going to be very good. Hopefully can, really push for a Sun Belt tournament, the title and all that kind of stuff, regular season title, whatever you want to look at. Hopefully they can push for that. and I think they're in position to do so. But we talked about a lot of guys that are coming back that are going to be back this year from last year's team that were big contributors. I wrote down a few guys just a few to touch on that are back this year. Some of their 2025 stats. These are solid playmakers. Infielder AJ Havrilla, I wrote him down. He batted 287 last year, 5 home runs, 45 RBIs, an 866 OPS, 404 on stolen bases. So that's a guy that that's going to come back and probably have a better year this year. Big time contributor last year. Looking forward to what he can do. Another guy will be Jackson Halter. Batted 284 last year, 3 home runs, 32 RBIs, 785 OPS, 17 stolen bases on 18 attempts. I mean, he had a good year. There's a lot of guys that are going to come back and just probably exceed what they did. Ethan Murdoch's been around. He had a good year last year, batted 261, 10 homers, 40 RBIs, 855 OPS. Just a really strong hitter. Would like to see him even extend on those home runs that he had last year, maybe get closer to 20 this year. That'd be awesome. He's kind of a big swinger. I'd like to see that. And then Tyler Camerer, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that last name right or not, but something like that. But he had a solid year last year in the infield, batted 271, 32 RBIs, 2 homers, 750 OPS. Another guy coming back. Pitching, we got a lot of pitchers coming back, and that's going to be exciting. I think that these guys are ready to take the next step. I mean, Griffin Miller had a 3.46 ERA last year, 7-4 record, pitched 83 innings, solid year, and he's back. Clint Moak, I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering these names badly, but he had a 5.46 ERA, 3-2 record, 61 innings pitched. Bryce Blevins, who we've talked about on here a little bit. I think we've talked about him. We've talked about him a lot off camera, but he's coming back. Guy that has a lot of potential, big future in store. Had a 6.14 ERA last year, 6-6 record, 92 innings pitched. So he's kind of the guy that's probably in line to be like the ace right now of this team. So looking very much forward to seeing what he can do this year. We did lose a couple of guys from last year's team, but overall we returned more than we lost. So talking about those guys a little bit more, if there's anybody that you want to throw out there that might be that you're excited about, who are you excited to see come back this year from last year's team?
I absolutely agree with all of that. In fact, that's a lot of my notes that you had already spoken about. My biggest thing, the thing that I am the most excited about, is the returning pitchers. Because whenever you look at trying to win in baseball at any level, doesn't matter, little league, high school, college, professional, MLB, then you're going to have to focus around pitching. That's what's going to win you games. If you can make sure that they don't score very many runs, you're probably going to win a lot of games.
Yeah.
And last year, Marshall had one of the best rotations in the Sun Belt, and they kept the major guys. So for our listeners today, if you don't, I know that again, Marshall baseball is just now beginning to take form, and so that usually means that a lot of fans don't necessarily understand the intricacies of college baseball, even in
Yeah.
itself. So for everybody listening, you have two different types of games, really. You have your weekday games and you have your weekend games. Your weekend games are usually going to be conference games, to which you're going to find a 3-game series, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then you have your one-off games. It's going to be in the midweek, which is a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday type game. And for those midweek games, oh man, it is just you're flipping a coin just to see. And usually
Yeah.
you're going to see about 11 to 12 runs per team, because the way that they decide to do things is they throw out a guy that will usually go 1, 2, or 3 innings, and then they're going to focus on the bullpen for the remainder of that game. And so some guys come in and they'll do great. Other guys come in, they're not so great. And so it's really important that you find 3 guys that can round out that weekend series to give you that consistency. If you can win the weekend series, then you're going to win a lot of baseball games and you're going to be in a good position. And Marshall was able to attain 3 guys that is fantastic. And the 3-man rotation at the end of the weekend for a weekend is going to be wonderful. Griffin Miller, like you just said, Again, he had a tremendous season last year, 71 strikeouts, 83 plus innings pitched. He's going to anchor your staff overall. He's going to be your consistent guy. He'll be in there for the majority of the time to be able to shut down other teams. And then, we've talked about Bryce Blevins a lot. I love Bryce Blevins. He's been with us, I think now. I mean, this is his entire college career. And he stayed whenever he didn't necessarily have to. I'm sure he had offers and different things, but he's a great left-handed pitcher, which again is a very important thing. You want to have a good lefty in your rotation, and he brings that veteran presence to your staff. And he's had numerous very strong performances. I remember through one hitter last season, and so he's just great. Then there's Clint Moak. He's going to round out that weekend rotation. He's got experience. He's got innings pitched. He's a tremendous pitcher overall. So those three guys are going to be your starters on every single weekend, and they're going to be able to keep you in a lot of games. And then we're able to have a couple of bullpen guys that were able to give the herd a little bit of depth last year. Charlie Krebs had a sub 3 ERA, which is always great out of the bullpen, which again in college baseball is almost unheard of. It's
Yeah.
hard to find somebody that keeps a low ERA out of the bullpen. And then Peyton Jackson also was a very solid relief pitcher too, gave you good innings. Just with those guys alone, we're going to be in a lot of baseball games this year. And you already mentioned all of our hitters and different things. We're retaining a lot of offensive weapons, which is huge, right? If you have great pitching, that's very good. You're going to be in a lot of games, but if you've got good hitters, you're going to win a lot of games. And so, we've got power, we've got speed, we've got some guys that are coming via the transfer portal that I'm sure we'll talk about here in just a second that are going to give us a little bit of extra from some guys that we missed that are moved on or graduated from last year. And so overall, we definitely have got a lot of wonderful retention for this 2026 baseball season, and I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. I mean, you cannot overstate how important it is to have good pitching. I mean, it can decimate a team if you don't have guys that you can count on to pitch to start the game, get your closers into position to where they can close the game. If you don't have that, if you don't have both of those factors, you are in a world of hurt. And we just have seen it so many times professionally all over. I mean, teams that have a lot of talent, they just get tore up because they cannot close out games and cannot get enough strikeouts. They just cannot. It's a struggle. And thankfully for the herd, they won a lot of those battles last year. And with a lot of guys back this year, it's important that they do it again. I think the closer, you got to have a really good closer. You mentioned a couple of guys there that were solid because they did lose a guy and just that led the team in saves last year. Nicholas Wyrick that got drafted by the Chicago White Sox. So, I mean, that's a guy that's going to be kind of hard to replace, but it seems like they got some guys in place to do that. Looking forward to seeing what they bring to the table. And like you said, we're going to get into some newcomers as well. And there's 3 newcomers I wrote down that I feel like could be really big contributors. Again, pronunciation on this last name, I'm not sure. Evan Batone or something to that effect. Outfielder from Akron. He's a 2-year starter as a leadoff guy. I mean, that's valuable. That's a valuable guy to have. I mean, the leadoff guy is so important to have. I mean, it just is. You got to have a guy that can get things started the right way. And I think that's a guy that Beals is very excited about based on some of the comments I've seen him say about him. Excited about him. Drew Harlow, right-handed pitcher, was actually here before and then had to go to Lenore-Rhine last year and led the nation in strikeouts at that level. So he's proven he can do some things here. Thankfully, he got to come back. I don't even know that whole story. It seems like a kind of an odd situation there, but I'm glad that he's back here. He's proven, and that's another guy to add to the pitching lineup. I mean, you can't get much better than that. So, and then the other guy that I think everybody's talking a lot about right now is Oliver Service, the catcher from Texas, who that is one of the greatest names I've ever heard in my life, first of all. But second of all, he seems to have a very strong game. And I mean, if he went to Texas, you got to be good. I mean, just simply as that, you have to be good. And that's another position that sometimes does not get the credit that it deserves as catcher. Man, it's an important position. I mean, it doesn't get much. It doesn't get much more essential than that, really. And this guy, I very excited to see what he can do. That's a big get. That's a really big get for them. Hopefully, he can turn out to be like a just beast of a player. I mean, I think he's got all the potential out there to do it. But yeah, I mean, those are just three guys I wrote down. There's a few other guys that will probably be sprinkled in there too, but those are the ones that seem to be the best chance to really, really have a big year this year. So talk about a little bit of those newcomers who you're excited about and what do you think they can bring to the table?
Yeah, you said it. Batone from Akron, that's a big get. He's going to be somebody that gives you that Division 1 starting presence. Had 13 stolen bases last season and 413 on base percentage as well. So all good stuff. That's a great leadoff player. Uh, Clary Simpson, he's an infielder from Florida Southern. He's somebody that can play multiple different positions. Usually, just all around the infield, you put him about anywhere, he can do pretty well. That's also a very important thing to have because, yeah, as you know, injuries happen, things take place. Sometimes guys just may need to get rest. You never know. So to have that versatility, I think he will really be a very valuable player to the herd overall. Oliver Service, like you said, great name, all-time name,
Yes.
and I hope that his service here is valuable. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, he goes. If anybody that's going to Texas for baseball, I mean, you had to have been pretty decent at baseball, right?
Right.
And so there's a lot of expectation that's on his shoulders right now. Of course, things did not work out at Texas for him, but that does not mean that they cannot work out here at Marshall. And from what I understand, he's a very quick catcher. He's able to get around, move around the plate very well. And so I'm excited to see him. Like you said, the pitchers too that we have added, the two guys, Alex Caudill and Drew Harlow, both of those will bring a lot more depth into that bullpen and even spot starts as well, especially with Alex Caudill. So again, both are just tremendous players. That's great. And little known fact too, Drew Harlow pitched previously at Marshall before transferring out, so it's kind of a
Yeah.
homecoming for him. And so that's great. And I'm excited to have him back home. And hopefully he does as well as he did in the D2 level. Because, like you said, he led the entire nation in strikeouts, and so that's exciting. So these transfers are going to be a very key, not just for depth, but man, they're going to fill holes because, like you said, and like what happens every single year, this is college athletics. People come and people go all the time. We lost some very key guys at the transfer last season. We lost a couple of guys to the draft last season, and those things happen. But I think that Greg Dills has done a really good job at bringing some new guys in that are going to fill those holes and that are going to make a huge difference moving forward.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's one thing that, as much as we like to talk about how the transfer portal's broken and all this other stuff, and it is, but one thing you can do is when you lose some guys, you can go in that portal and you can find some guys to fill those positions. I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't mean that they're going to be necessarily as good as the guy that left or what have you, but like you can go in there and you can pretty much immediately find some guys to fill that void, and that's a big deal. You gotta have a strong rotation. I mean, you gotta have bullpen guys you can count on. Gotta have starters you can count on because I mean you can't finish it unless they start it, right? So you have to get all those pieces put in place, and I think we've got a pretty good job of doing so already. As the season's 2.5 3 weeks out still, but I think we're in position to really make some noise through that side. So looking forward to that for sure. Again, Oliver Service, great name. great name. Hopefully he can have a huge year. That would be awesome. But a lot of these new guys could be really good for us. So now we're going to look a little bit at the schedule. I know this has been a pretty big talking point here lately because it's getting close to baseball season. But man, we got a pretty difficult schedule. Got a lot of challenging games, series, etc. It's going to be very interesting to see what they can do with a lot of these games. Quite frankly, the 2026 season starts February 13th through 15th in the Kennesaw State tournament. I don't really know anything about that. They're going to be playing Kennesaw State and Evansville, I guess both, and that should be interesting to start out with. And then we got these are just I kind of just wrote these games down just randomly, not necessarily in order, but these are the games in the series that really stood out to me the most. A 3-game home series with Coastal Carolina is going to be massive. That is March 27th through March 29th. That's going to be huge. I mean, all those games. I don't know. I'm not. I haven't looked up what days of the week those games are, but those games could be sold out. Those games could be pushing a sellout, depending on how we're doing at that point. Which should be fine. But yeah, looking forward to that. Home against WVU on March 24th, at WVU on April 7th, and then May 5th against WVU in Charleston. So I like that. I like the fact that it's everywhere. It's all three locations that we're used to playing them in. I like that. Would love to take 2 out of 3 from them, or 3 out of 3 would be even better. But yeah, that would be awesome. So looking forward to that. Home against Virginia Tech on May 12th. That's a good game. I mean, that's a big name opponent to come to town. You got to love that. And then at Virginia Tech, March 3rd. So we go there first, and then a couple months later, turn around and play them at home. So that should be exciting. Then we got Ohio State on the road, April 15th. That should be interesting. I mean, playing Ohio State in anything is a big game. So that's going to be that'll be a challenging one there for sure. At Kentucky on March 18th, that's going to be challenging. And then we got 2 games at Louisville, March 10th through 11th. So we got a lot of road challenges. Got some good people coming to the Jack as well. Got some good people in conference coming to the Jack. I mean, I didn't even write down a lot of the conference games we've got, but we got a lot of good non-conference games. And, obviously I had to talk about the Coastal Series because that's going to be big to have them come here. So, yeah, I mean, overall, this is a very difficult schedule, challenging, and it could really provide a lot of things for us at the end of the year. If we're in contention at the end of the year, that if we get some of these big wins, that could really help our case for postseason baseball. So talk a little bit about the schedule this year and what challenges it brings to the table. What do you think we're going to get out of it? Are we going to get what we want out of it? Because obviously the end goal is playing postseason baseball because of this schedule. So what do you think about it?
Right. Well, like I said before, the Sun Belt is tough enough. You're sharing a conference with a national champion runner up. That's big time. Troy, tremendous at baseball. We got them at home this year in a series in April. So that's good news to have them at home. If you're going to play them, it's good to be at home.
Right.
But then you got other teams that are in the conference that we plan to play. Again, Georgia State, they're always decent. Georgia Southern's always decent. App State is here, hit and miss. It depends. Old Dominion will always make some noise. South Alabama will always make some noise. So, overall, just based upon our conference play, that's a pretty tough schedule already. But
Yeah.
all those names that you just mentioned a moment ago, I'm telling you, we've got a tough schedule. But like
Yes,
they
we
say,
do.
to be the best, you got to play and beat the best. And so that's exactly what I think, trying to do. And I think that's a good schedule philosophy. I would much rather have a baseball team that knows how to compete and play against the top in the nation as you are preparing yourself for the end of postseason baseball. I don't think that it doesn't do you a whole lot of good to win 40 something games but have played nobody throughout the
Right.
season. I think it would be a much more valuable thing to win a 35 games, but also compete and be in games with some of the best teams in the nation. And so that's exactly the philosophy that they've taken with this year's schedule. Like you said, Virginia Tech, a home and home. That's great. That's exciting to have Virginia Tech come in. They're close by, and that's always going to be a fun one. At Louisville, awesome game. At Kentucky, great game. Again, both of those programs in Kentucky are fantastic baseball
Yeah.
programs. So that'll be a lot of excitement. You mentioned Ohio State, and Greg Beals, of course, that was his prior home. And so, not only is it just a big deal to play Ohio State in about anything, but it's a big deal for Greg Beals being
Yeah.
able to go home and prove that, hey, you all made a bad decision. I was a good coach. And so that's exciting. I'm excited about that. And then, as you mentioned, West Virginia, this is one of the big sports that we play. Of course, soccer and baseball are going to be your mainstays where we're able to see this game happen consistently. And I love the way that they break it down in Huntington and Morgantown and then in Charleston. And it's based really throughout different months. So every single month of the baseball season, we're still circling that big game on the schedule, both sides. And so I'm excited about that being able to take place. I'm gonna try my very. I'm gonna be there in Huntington for sure. I think I'm gonna try my very best to be there in Charleston, and if I can, I'll try in Morgantown too. All those games for those listening are going to be on Tuesdays. And so try your best to get off work or whatever you need to do. Get out to the Jack, get out to Charleston, get out into Morgantown, support the herd. and let's make those big games. But I like what you said too. I would say probably the biggest series of the entire year. It's not West Virginia. It's Coastal Carolina.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that we have them at home, man, what an electric atmosphere that's going to be. Like you said, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be sold out. There's no reason why it should not be. Even if Marshall's having a down season, I don't even see why it cannot be sold out no matter what, regardless. Just because I mean they're going to be a premier team. They retained their coach after the rumors of him going to LSU this offseason. He's able to stay at Coastal, so they're going to keep on rolling. And I expect the Jack to be a rowdy place Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for that 3 game series. And I cannot wait for that. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna try my very best to go to get that series if possible. So anyway, I'm excited about all of these games that we've got here on the schedule. I think this is one of the best schedules in recent memory
Yeah.
that I can remember for really any sport. I mean, this is an electric schedule, and lots of big moments, lots of big games, lots of opportunity to make some noise nationally. And listen, like you said, don't be surprised if you see them winning, 35 plus games.
Yeah.
Don't be shocked because with the guys that we've got coming back and with the guys that we've added, we'll be able to compete with all of these teams no matter what. We may not win all of them, but I
Right.
guarantee you that at the very bare minimum, we will be able to compete with many of these programs.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, we have a. I'd rather go out and schedule at this point. I'd rather have a schedule like this because it's going to be challenging. It's going to be something that actually makes you better in the long run, and they're going to be able to take shot after shot after shot from these teams, and they're not gonna just fall down, and they're gonna take these shots. They're gonna throw some shots too. So like it's gonna be really exciting to see what they do. And I love that. You know what? I absolutely love that series, the 3 games with WVU. How about we try that in football? How about we get, how about we get, how about we get them coming here, and then when we go there, and then why don't we just play them at Lately and call it a day? You know what I mean? That would be, wouldn't that be cool? I mean, let's just do it. Why not let's just do it. But I digress. But no, I mean baseball looking at that, yeah, I mean they got a tough challenge coming up with these games. A lot of tough. I mean, there's not going to be hardly any games that are quote unquote easy, and I think that's going to be good for them. But anyways, yeah, looking forward to it. But we didn't really talk about this before we were going to do an episode, but I figured it was only right to kind of give some type of a season win total prediction of some sort. We don't know how many games are going to play yet total because you don't know about postseason and all that other stuff. But let's just kind of try to narrow it down, try to put us on the spot here a little bit about how many games you see them winning. So I'm going to go ahead and start with you on this one. And what do you see? And it doesn't even necessarily have to be just like a certain number. It could just be like a range. Just anything that you think that you're confident that they can win. What do you think?
Yeah, we've alluded to it. I think that we can match and even win maybe 5 more games than we did last season. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility by any means. And I say match and not necessarily take a huge step of improvement just because of the fact of the schedule this year. It's way better than last year's schedule. If you can remember, there were a lot of games there in the early portion of the season where we're playing teams I didn't know existed. I had no
Right,
idea that they were even a school. So we've definitely taken a step up in our scheduling. Our team has taken a step up as well, but that may also kind of regulate things too. It may kind of
right,
even things out at the end of the day. So I wouldn't be surprised if we match maybe a 5 game increase overall from what we saw last season. What really is going to be key is the beginning portion. We've got 4 games in that Kennesaw State tournament. Again, 2 games against Evansville, 2 games against Kennesaw State. If we take 3 out of 4 there, we're going to be in the driver's seat. They
yeah,
got to start well. I believe it was last season they got off to a horrendous start. They played
mm-hmm.
the College of Charleston. I think they got swept, and then the next week they took one away from Georgia Tech, but lost 2. So if they can get off to a really hot start there in Georgia against Kennesaw State and Evansville, then travel down to the Citadel for February 20th and 21st games against them, and really come away with maybe 4 or 5 wins out of all those games, hey, we're going to be in the driver's seat. We could make a lot of noise this season because Marshall's got to focus on winning the easy ones. They've got to find a way to win the games that they're supposed to win and be in the games where maybe they're not supposed to be in. That's just what they've got to learn how to do now. Then we saw a little bit of inconsistency last year, more consistency than inconsistency. But if they're able to again get off to a hot start, because I'm looking at the schedule. I mean, like I said, Evansville first, Kennesaw State with 2, the Citadel. Then they're going to play Navy, which they should easily win that one. Winthrop, they should win that one. Butler, they should win that one. And then you get to Virginia Tech. So,
Yeah.
you come out of those couple of series with close to 8 to 10 wins. Hey, this is going to be a big season. So we'll
Yeah.
see how it goes. We'll see how that beginning portion of the year happens overall. But don't be surprised if we can get off to a hot start, that we see at least matching, if not more wins than we did last season.
Yep, I agree. And I think that's a real good point you brought up there about they did get off to a pretty rocky start last year. They had, I think they had Hawaii out of the gate. Am I imagining that? Or I think they had Hawaii out of the gate.
Yes.
And yeah, and then Georgia Tech, like you said, I mean, that was a really premier team they were playing, and they got off to a kind of rough start. So if we can flip that script this year instead of starting, I don't know what they started last year, but it was definitely losing. But if we can flip that script and start with a winning record this year, I like their chances. And the number that I've got in my head, and I don't know if it's gonna, the number I have in my head is 35. That's what I have in my head for wins. I don't know that it could be a little more than that. It could be a little less than that. It could be a lot more than that, quite frankly. I don't know. But for some reason, I just have in my head 35 wins. And if they can go out and get 35 wins, regular season especially, they can just by itself, they got a chance to do some things. And especially with this schedule, if they can take some of these series, if you can take this series with, heck, why not take the series from Coastal? Why not take 2 or 3 from them? I mean, you got them here, so we've seen them do it last year with Southern Miss and other people like that. So I mean, if you can take a couple of those series or multiple of those series, man, they're going to have a chance. I mean, they will really have a chance. But yeah, I think 35 is a good number to be at. Maybe 37, 40 be awesome, but somewhere in that neighborhood, 35 to 40 would be awesome. I mean, even if they did match 30, if they even match 33 wins, I would still be fine with that. But yeah, I think that they're going to have a really good shot this year for sure.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, but I'll say the bottom line is this. We got to expect that this next season is going to be a very competitive and fundamentally sound year. We've got proven guys, we've got guys that have came back that know what they're doing, and we've got a great weekend of starting rotation, so they're going to keep us in a lot of different games. I don't expect to see a lot of double-digit weekend games given up on our end. I think it'll be close and competitive, so that's great. I think that we got a great group of transfers that will immediately, fill in roles and keep us in games offensively and on the mound. And then I really think at the end of the day that we're going to have a challenge or a chance to challenge for the Sun Belt a conference championship as we did last year. Don't be surprised if we get back to the tournament there in Montgomery, and especially with all these new additions, if they pan out. And again, like if they hit early, if they pitch well early and are able to get off to a good start, we're going to be in good shape. So if we can maintain all of these things, if we can get the pitching and continue to keep that going in the right direction and find more consistency on the offensive side, this team could be really one of the most enjoyable herd teams that we've ever watched, at least in recent history.
Yep, I'm with you 100%. I think big things are coming this year, and you're going to see you're going to see the next step in this program's progression. That's what I see. So I'm very much looking forward to it, and y'all need to get out to the Jack this year. It's going to be a fun place to be. So yeah, we are absolutely looking forward to baseball this year. But before we get out of here, I figured we better talk a little bit about something that just recently happened. And man, oh man, I know we both said we wish we would have been there for this, but unfortunately it just didn't work out that way. the basketball game against ULM. We got to talk about the fact that Marshall went out there and hit 26 3-pointers. I mean, there's certain games, there could be 3 or 4 games in a row where they don't combine for that many threes. And they went out they went out there and absolutely sent ULM down to NAIA where they need to be anyways. That's that's what they did. They just sent them down. I mean, they sent them packing. And man, that was something else. And hopefully that is a sign of things to come, because, man, once you start shooting like that, you can beat anybody that you play. I don't care who it is. And I know that probably has a lot to do with the fact that ULM is just dreadful and they have like no defense, but still, man, you got to be able to hit those shots. So I figured we talk a little bit about that. So what do you think about that performance, and does that give you hope moving forward for them to be able to do more things like that in the future?
This is total domination. Like you said, I would not be shocked if you saw the ULM say, well, we're going down to FCS next year, because
Right,
that's how
right.
bad this was. At 115 to 60. I mean, where do you see that in college basketball nowadays? That's
Yeah,
unbelievable. And again, ULM is a terrible program. They're not good at basketball. They're not good at really any sport. They're
yeah,
they're somebody that I honestly wish would exit out of the Sun Belt, and we could find somebody else to get in there and have more competitive games. But
right.
with that in mind, though, this is a great performance by Marshall. That's just not something that you're going to see every day for sure. I hope that it's something that kind of kicks the team into gear and gets them really firing on all cylinders here in the future, because it's kind of been an up and down season overall up to this point. They have a
Yeah.
winning record, and that's great, but at the same time, they've lost games that they should have won,
Oh,
in
yeah.
our opinion. And they've not really done anything spectacular. So this was spectacular, though. This was a big deal, a lot bigger deal than I think anybody should ever, than I think a lot of people are giving credit for. Because yes, ULM is bad, but like you mentioned, you have to make those shots
Mm-hmm.
in order to get 26 threes. So I'm hoping this is a sign of really, really great things to come, and that we're going to find that Marshall basketball really just kind of gets into another gear and finishes out this season strong and gets themselves in a good position as they prepare for Pensacola and the conference tournament.
No doubt, man. I mean, and even with the ups and downs we've had so far, sitting there at 13-7 and 5-3 in the league, that's a pretty solid position to be in at this point. They're only 2.5 games out of first place, so they're in a position to get one of those buys or double buys or whatever in Pensacola. Got a big game coming up on the road against Texas State Wednesday night coming up. We would love to get that one. I mean, they really got to start doing better on the road. That's kind of where their bugaboo's been this year. Got to start taking care of those. And I think we'll be in good shape, have a chance at the end. But we'll see what happens. Also, got to say, women's basketball team broke their little 2-game skid. So that was great to see. They're right there in position in the Sun Belt for the first place. So both programs are in pretty good position. And I did joke about that ULM game. And I said, man, I wish we wouldn't have saved that shooting performance for a game against the worst team on the schedule. but who knows? Maybe they'll go out and hit 23s and again. Who knows? But hopefully that kind of is like an awakening of sorts for them. They can start hitting a lot of them shots. But yeah, looking forward to seeing what both basketball teams can do the rest of the way. But with that, we have come to the end of our baseball preview episode. I thought we had some really good discussions, really good points on here, and I'm looking forward to baseball this year. Probably, like you said, probably more so than maybe ever before, quite frankly. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this program goes moving forward in the next 5 years. I think you're going to see some big things come out of them. So I'm very much looking forward to it. But we'll be back with y'all coming up with a pretty cool episode. If we can get it worked out, it's going to be a pretty awesome episode that you're all going to want to hear. It should be must listen. So we'll keep you all posted on that. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead and get out of here. Y'all stay safe out of the snow and the ice, and hopefully everybody's got power. I know that's been an issue, so hopefully it all works out and all this stuff melts and goes away and we can get back to some normalcy. But yeah, with that being said, go Herd. We'll see y'all next time.
Go Herd.